Hi everyone, my name is Destiny Leonard and today I want to talk about far-right extremism. Now some of you may be familiar with this group and others may be wondering what exactly is far-right extremism. According to the CSIS, far-right extremism is the use of threat or violence in order to encourage racial or ethnic supremacy, opposition to government, and the spread of conspiracy theories. Unfortunately, this group is seen as a negative threat towards our community and the nation as a whole, and the U.S. government has not yet recognized this group as a domestic threat. And according to the FBI, a domestic threat is the use of violence in order for a person to spread their ideological goals. In this speech, I will be covering the threat that is far-right extremism, its recent resurgence, and how to eradicate the problem. First, I'll be discussing the origins of far-right extremism. According to a scholarly article written by Paul Carr, its origins can be traced back to the birth of our nation. Some factors are relevant at the time, such as slavery and colonialism, can be found in the core beliefs of this group. However, long after these factors have been abolished by our government, some members belonging to this group still felt as though they were the superior race. In order to continue their legacy, they formed groups to spread their ideologies to others and continue to use violence in order to assert their dominance over those they considered inferior. And unfortunately, these tactics have proven to be successful. Now, if you look at this graph right here, which is made by the Center for Strategic and International Studies, this graph represents attacks by the violent far right and far left sides of the political spectrums from the years 1994 to 2021. The yellow dots represent attacks by the far right, while the gray represent the far left. And if you look over here, in the year 2020, attacks by the far right side of the political spectrum were at an all-time high. And since the year 2015, the far right side of the political spectrum has been responsible for 91 deaths and 267 plots. And to make matters even worse, attacks by this side of the spectrum, the members have claimed to be either supporters or belong to the far right extremism, and they have even threatened and destroyed dozens of religious institutions and buildings. Now, you may be wondering, why is far extremism resurging recently? One place we can look to is our government. According to a scholarly article written by Priscilla Parada, the government does not charge perpetrators of these attacks with domestic terrorism. This is due to the fact of the government not yet establishing a standalone statute for domestic terrorism in the first place. Another reason why far-right extremism has been surging is because America's definition of terrorism is forever tainted by the events 9/11. Now, when many Americans think of terrorism, they often think of a foreigner from another country committing these acts, and not our own neighbors being capable of such atrocities. Another reason why far extremism has been flourishing is because of the media. And according to an article written by Zachary Jarrell, some outlets refer to the suspects as names other than terrorists, and some of these names include militia or anti-government, which further desensitizes the impact they have created on our nation. And according to a recent study, attacks committed by far-right extremist groups are 4.5 times less likely reported than those committed by their Muslim counterparts. Now, you may be wondering, how can we stop this national crisis? Here I have outlined 5 suggestions, 2 of which can be done by the public, and 3 can be done by the government. Now, according to an article written by former U.S. Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, the internet can take a stance against far-right extremism. Internet companies such as Instagram and Facebook can restrict access to extremist propaganda and even ban accounts that encourage this type of behavior. Secondly, news organizations can decrease the publicity of far-right extremist members to further deter members from committing such acts. And third, according to an article written by Coraline White, the government officials can think holistically about this group. In other words, they can collect studies and trends from these groups in order to deter vulnerable individuals from turning to the far-right extremist groups. Fourth, Government officials can introduce a standalone statute for domestic terrorism in order to charge perpetrators for what they truly did. And fifth, it is imperative that we have more government officials recognize far-right extremism as a threat in order to create more laws to end far-right extremism. In summary, far-right extremism has existed in our nation since the beginning and is continuing to wreak havoc. The government and other public entities have downplayed the role far-right extremism has played for far too long, and as a result, there is no precedent put in place to properly punish those for committing these acts, and they are encouraged to continue to commit violent acts. It is important for Americans to recognize the threat of far-right extremism before it is too late.